You're listening to UCW Radio. In your face.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
You know what I mean?
Money to be made in a place like this.
Money never sleeps, pal.
You're crazy. Don't run when you lose. Don't whine when it hurts.
You know what it takes to sell real estate?
It takes brass balls.
I'm falling, and I can't get up.
All right, welcome to Money Never Sleeps, the show where we talk about everything and anything that impacts the flow of money on a global scale, and it's good to be back in action after a short break. About 9 years ago, actually exactly 9 years ago today, a tech company went public, and they were on a mission to change how we connect with people globally, and they did just that, Google. They've been on the cutting edge of technology since its inception, and they're not slowing down at all whatsoever. From the Google Glass initiative to their Moto X launch, they are looking to bring the next generation of technology to consumers globally and affordably. And they are still trying to make the internet free. That's a great initiative that they have, and that's something I think at some point they're going to accomplish, because I think they can make it happen. Way back, well, maybe not too way back, but when we had antennas on your TVs, remember those? And we're able to get basic channels on our TV sets without getting billed. Someone said to me, at some point, we will pay for water and we will pay for television. I said, no way. But lo and behold, look at us now, paying for water, paying for TV. But I think that in the near future, you're going to see another change. And that will be the rise of internet television, where people around the world will be able to access and watch on-demand programs free of charge. And I want you to mark this down, because this will come to pass. And it's a good thing for consumers, for television viewers, film viewers, and for distribution points. And I'll expand on that thought in the coming weeks, as this is the future of television, people. This is one of many things that are going to be happening. Moving forward, let's get to social media. Well, according to reports, Twitter is in pure business mode, and they're inking deals with a number of entertainment and sports companies to use Twitter to market their content, especially live content. It's really interesting. According to this report, Twitter has tapped one of Google's top digital advertising people, and they can be on point, according to these reports, to have revenue of over $900 million in 2014. And that is a big jump to what they're doing now. They went, throughout a number of years of not having any revenue. So they're turning that corner with having certain people involved in the company. They're making it, they changed their business model a little bit to make it, to monetize the company. Remember, this is a private company, so, the numbers you really can't be sure of, but I do anticipate that this will go from a private company to a public company either by the end of 2013 or sometime early 2014. So stay tuned, because this is something that's going to come to pass as well. All right. We talked about Twitter. Let's talk about Facebook. Something interesting happened today. Zuckerberg's personal account was hacked. Well, kind of hacked. What happened was an unemployed techie. He warned the company, Facebook, on numerous occasions that there was a glitch. There was some sort of bug. There was some sort of window that would allow people that weren't friends with someone to actually go and post on their wall. So they didn't listen to him, and they said there was no glitch, and he posted all the correspondence online. So what he did, he's one of the good guy hackers. So he took it upon himself to hack the account of Mark Zuckerberg to show their security flaw. Now, with 1 billion users in place, how scary is that? But more importantly, it's kind of embarrassing for Facebook as a public company to actually, for someone to warn them and for them not to actually, to look into it. They have a program where they pay people that discover bugs and flaws because, again, 1 billion users, things have come out, and you have a lot of, great good guy hackers out there. So they actually pay them. And from what I understand, to date, I believe they paid out probably in the vicinity of $1 million to these hackers. So it's going to be interesting, but hopefully they close that up because it would be bad. For the company, it would be bad for the people that use it, for their accounts to be, at risk of being hacked. I mean, anything could be hacked. You have people that are really good out there that do what they do. But let's see what happens with that as the story develops. Now, we're talking social media, so I want to stay on that topic for a second. What I want to do is I want to personally invite all of our listeners from all our shows, not just Money Never Sleeps, from all our shows, to be part of the next generation of social media. It's called Megahoot. And it's actually beyond social media. It's a true network where our members can do more than just connect and send messages to one another. They can share and upload everything from photos, videos, audio. They can upload digital magazine. If it can be a professional magazine, it can be just an individual magazine. And I know that there's another type of magazine that's going to be initiated there as well that's going to allow every member at will to actually create a magazine where they can actually share with their friends and family. And also, books, digital books. They'll be able to do that too and upload them, and at some point in time, actually, monetize this. And they, members can go on and make video calls to other members and voice calls. And I guess one of the key things with Megahoot is that members can actually market their products or services, and all of this is free. Where members can go on, they can market, on their profile page, they can actually advertise whatever product that they want to advertise. And it becomes really interesting, on Megahoot.com, and that is where you need to go, Megahoot.com. We value each and every one of our members and give our members the opportunity to not only connect globally, but also to monetize their social media time. So, all you need to do is go to Megahoot.com and get familiar with it. Go on there, surf. There are a lot of features that are on there now. There are a lot of features that are going to be coming up, which are going to be valuable to the members of Megahoot, where you'll be able to monetize your social media time. And why not? Whether it's a magazine, whether it's a video, and we're going to actually have some really, really interesting projects and features that are going to be released in the coming months. That it just can open up doors for a lot of independent directors, independent producers of TV and film. So you're going to have to stay tuned to that. Again, it's just an opportunity that these independent producers and directors are going to find of value. And again, it's not just for them. Big studios will find value in this too. So stay tuned as we move forward on that. Okay, and someone was asking me about Apple and what my opinion on Apple was. The reality is Apple, they're an innovative company. And they always have been. They've always gone through a cycle of, development, and it's just interesting as technology advances and competition, starts coming together. You have Samsung, you have Sony, you have Google, with Motorola. You have a lot of projects, actually products coming to market, from phones, from mobile phones to pets, to things of that nature, and it's becoming extremely interesting as to how all of that is kind of like coming together. But I think for Apple to be able to compete, they have to continue with the innovation. They have to continue to be the cool company that people like, with their iPhone. Because, the company, in order for it to be profitable, in order for it to just continue to be relevant, they have to continue to come out with products. They're product-driven. And so I don't know. I mean, unless they're coming out with something new and innovative, I really don't know. I really don't know what the future is for the company. I think short term, I think you're going to see, the higher valuations with the company, and hopefully they do come out with some cool new gadgets for consumers to use. So we'll just stay tuned with that, and I'll have more thoughts on that next week. All right. So now, what I want to do, I want to go into the business of Hollywood. As we know, it's a rough and tumble business. This is where only the strong survive. But with social media and the internet, it has given hope to quality startup projects that are looking for funding. And I want to bring on one of the creators of the awesome new web series called Urban Nature Man, starring Matthew Jager. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, look up Urban Nature Man. I mean, you'll enjoy it because it's different. So what I want you to do is please join me in welcoming Catalina Espiro to the show. Hi, Cato. How are you?
What a wonderful welcome. I'm great. I loved that clip.
You like it? Well, we have to go Hollywood for you.
Oh, it was great. And when I first came into Hollywood, I really expected that kind of music to welcome me into the city. It really didn't happen that way, but I finally got it after 10 years.
Yeah, after a little while. It's a different type of song. It's more like Get Out.
Yeah. It's more like a dun 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 dun. Yeah. But it's trying, but it's still exciting though. Even after all this time, it's still very, very exciting.
Well, the thing is in Hollywood, as I said, earlier, in your intro, it's a rough and tumble business, and you have to be strong to survive. Mm-hmm. You have to be smart. You have to take advantage of what's in front of you. And if you're creating content, that's the key thing, and that's what you guys have done. So, why don't you tell us about Urban Nature Man, because that's a really interesting project.
Well, Urban Nature Man is a web series that I co-produce and direct, and basically it's about a city boy's journey to reconnect with nature without having to become a total hippie while doing it, which is basically our tagline. And the whole concept behind it, or how it was created, was Matt came from the Midwest, so he was always around nature with the apple trees and picking berries and just the animals around, and came to the big city in LA and basically living in the cement jungle, and kind of longed for a way to reconnect, and it really, we started realizing that a lot of people started feeling that way, and everyone's trying to get more organic, everyone's trying to figure out where their food comes from, trying to get out more, and so but then there's a bit of that eco guilt that comes along with it, because we have all our gadgets and we have all these things that increase the carbon footprint. So we came together and it's time to find a balance between that. Let's make a show about our journey, my journey in the creative process, and his journey in being the star of it, and finding that balance, and have our audience come with us and by urban foraging and going out and skydiving and hiking, and finding ways to reconnect with nature. Not only that, but nature is something that a lot of people kind of admire at a distance. They don't realize, or maybe they're afraid of it, that it's there to not only nurture us, but kind of protect us in a way. They've got things that you wouldn't believe that can heal you and can protect you. And if we kind of have that healthy relationship with it, we can survive in this earth and not have to give up the technology, not have to give up our city life, but just find that balance. And it's really fun, and it's a kind of it's very comedic way of doing it, because we're watching him as he makes mistakes and falters, and we bring in guests that just would otherwise have nothing to do with this stuff. but they're willing to take that chance, as well as experts that come in and teach Urban Nature Man a thing or two. So it's an amazing journey. It really is.
And I just want our listeners to understand, too, that between you and Matt, and you and, I'm going to call him Matt because that's what I call him, you and Matt, you guys have extensive experience in entertainment in Hollywood, from plays to TV to film. You guys have been around the block, so this is not your first dance.
Well, it is the first thing that's new to us is the fact that we are producing it. We're the people behind the desk, behind the camera. But yeah, Matt and I came out here as actors, and that's kind of what's the difference is between Hollywood business and other kinds of business, is that we're coming out here not with a degree in business and marketing and all of these things. We're coming out as creators, as artists. And then coming into the business with that kind of mindset, we have to learn from the ground up and land running to make this business work. And with film, before, all you really needed was a good idea, a good script. That's really all you needed, and somebody would come in and invest and finance, and you're good to go. Nowadays, people want a finished product before they even consider looking at it. So that's where the Indiegogo crowdfunding comes in. And I'm sure you know that almost everyone who's trying to get their start in producing, they start with crowdfunding. Right, exactly. So crowdfunding
that's something that was only allowed not too long ago, because that's something that the SEC blocked because they weren't understanding what crowdfunding was, and when they started to allow it, and you had a lot of small projects, whether it be film or other things, utilizing it. I mean, I have seen some really stupid things on there, like, help me fund my divorce. Really? Really, dude? You're actually putting that out there. But, but what you're doing, you have a quality product that initially, before the crowdfunding, you guys were funding this for yourselves. Still.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just like any business, you have to take out a loan or that kind of thing. But, it's a little different with this kind of venture, just because with loans you need to prove to them that you have a product that is going to give you money to pay it back. And with this kind of thing, I mean, what bank is going to say, oh, yeah, that's a cute little web series. Sure, I'll give you $20,000, that kind of thing. Right. So that's where crowdfunding is really the only way to get this project together. Right now we're on our second season, so we're getting this money together so we can finish our second season, put together a package to sell to sponsors, to find investors, to shop it to networks, all of those things. But all of these people demand a finished, polished product, and with that we need the crowdfunding.
And that's what you're doing now, because you have your season 1 and it's already done. And it's out there where people can actually go to YouTube and they can see Urban Nature Man, or they can go to your website as well and they can go see it. But right now you're looking to fund season 2, and you're choosing Indiegogo to actually do it. And I actually spoken to the person that founded that, and it's a really interesting concept. You have a lot of crowdfunding sites out there.
Right.
For you guys, what have you found to be the most difficult thing with the crowdfunding?
Well, the most difficult thing is that a thing that a lot of people don't realize when they start crowdfunding is that it's a full-time job, and that it's not something that you can just say, oh, you know what, I'll do crowdfunding and I'm gonna put it up and then the money comes. It's so not true. I would recommend anyone else who tries doing it is that they have to plan as much as they can ahead of time, because part of the crowdfunding is offering perks. For example, one of our perks is an executive producer credit. So a lot of people who want that credit, like, for example, it's official on IMDb, so if they want credit as a producer of the show, they get that with our show. So things like that, perks are what would bring in people that are not just friends and family. So you have to plan those perks out, and then you have to be there every single day, just all day long, tweeting and reminding people and getting people to share, and at the same time hoping that they're not getting pissed off that you're bugging them, because a lot of times they're like, oh, I like that project, but then they won't, they'll forget, or they're in the middle, of doing something else. And so those little tweets are reminders to get, to reach them when they get back home and say, we still need to hit that. If you're planning on donating, now's a great time because we want to hit this donation match. So it's a delicate balance we have to find to not, overwhelm people with trying to let them know what's going on, and also making sure to kindly remind them that we're here. So, and now we've exhausted the friends and family stuff, reaching out.
You're using all types of social media to do this, right?
Say what now?
So you're using all types of social media to do this.
Right, exactly. We have to use, we're using Twitter, Facebook, and now we got introduced to the Mega Hoot, which has got, it's like overwhelming all the options that are there, facilitating this kind of, allowing us to put our material out there in a way that the other social media will not be able to. So we're really excited to get that done, hopefully before the Indiegogo is finished, because you were just telling me about that amazing kind of an ability to put together kind of like an online magazine to be able to express what our show is all about. So all of these things we're just kind of rushing to be on top of, because everything is just so fast. It just moves so fast. And to try and take advantage as much as we can.
Yeah, and that's the world we live in. Everything is quick, everything's moving, but technology moves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, early in the show I was talking about television, where, way back when we had antennas. Right now we don't have antennas. We're paying to watch TV, which is really,
right.
But that's going to change too, because internet television, I said this earlier, I say it now, internet television is going to be the next thing that's going to happen, and
absolutely.
It's going to create so many opportunities for independent, producers, independent directors, talent to actually focus on their creative, have a distribution point, because distribution points are the key thing. That is how you make your money, because you get distribution. You're able to get it out there.
Right.
The more distribution you have, you know what? If you have product placement in your show or your film, that's going to help you, because people, advertisers will pay for that. So all these little things come into play, but this is the business of Hollywood, and this is these are the things that you need to do. So it's not, all smiles and glitz and glamour and diamonds are a girl's best friend type of thing where people think. You do have Skid Row over there. You do have things that go wrong, but it's a lot of hard work.
And you know what? It's funny because the acting business acting and producing, the business of it is very, very similar. Where it's really all about. It has little to do with talent and mostly to do with being at the right place at the right time and who you know and getting your face out there. So if you've got an amazing situation where you have a great product or a great talent, now all you have to do is just work your butt off to get your face out there, because it's just finding that one person or those 10 people that are the right people to get to where you need to go, to get your message out there, your product out there, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with Urban Nature Man.
Well, I think that you have a great product there. I think you're gonna have a lot of success with it. Why don't you give information on how people can find out more about Urban Nature Man, find out what you guys are doing, find out about your crowdfunding situation. Just give them the website so that they know what to do.
All right. Yes, you can go straight to www.urbanNatureman.com. Everything you need to know is on there. Right on the first page, you'll see a button that says Indiegogo. And right now, we just had an anonymous donor saying that he will match donations up to $2,000. and you can go right there and see that and contribute. And right now our goal is very humble. It's 8,200, and that's all really what we need. But anyone out there who would like to be, a long-time investor, you can contact us through that website, urbannatureman.com, and watch our videos and know what we're all about.
All right, that's fantastic. And I do urge anyone listening, if you want to be part of a project that's really, really good, trust me on this, Urban Nature Man, go check it out, urbannatureman.com. And, people, if they had the opportunity to invest in Two and a Half Men or The Big Bang Theory and shows like that, they'd have a big score. So this is an opportunity not only for them to help, with what you were doing with your project, an independent project,
right,
but also to be a part of something that can be great, in my opinion. I think it's going to be great. Catalina, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we're going to have you back on. Hopefully we'll get Matt on so we can talk more about Urban Nature Man. Hopefully the next time we bring you on, you'll be funded, and we'll speak about your next deal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's great. Always great talking to you.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Now it's time to find out what's going on in the world according to John. So please join me in welcoming REO Capital's John Donness to Money Never Sleeps. John, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, Lou?
Good. We're on hiatus a little bit. We're back in business. We're back in action. What has been going on in your world?
Well, as reported in my latest blog article, this year in 2012 is set to be the best year for fundraising since 2008.
A lot of money flowing now.
Yeah, more money flowing into private equity funds and fund of funds, as well as venture capital funds, and we're seeing that confidence come back into that market, and frankly, I think it's based on several other factors, but I'm glad to see it.
Well, can I ask you a question, John? Since this is something that's been happening recently, the SEC has been targeting hedge funds, private equity funds, things of that nature, with regulation. How do you think that's going to impact that industry?
Well, the SEC has also done a 180 and lightened up on advertising regs for Reg D 506 private placements, and now whether you're a hedge fund or a private equity fund or any other fund, you can now advertise without fear of the SEC banning you for life. They have not yet stipulated any regulations yet on crowdfunding. I think that's going to be next. They're going to, I think, start to regulate that market because it's been such a free-for-all with respect to people raising capital in that segment. And that's what many lawyers that I talk to stipulate, that the SEC is trying to figure out how to regulate that crowdfunding before it gets too out of control. But I
think it's getting out of control already. Because crowdfunding is a great tool. The problem is, as I said earlier in the show, I've seen people that are trying to raise money to get a divorce. They're trying to raise money so that they can go on vacation. When you're raising money for a project, that's one thing. You're raising money to go on vacation. That's a different animal altogether. So there has to be a line there.
Right, and the other thing, Lou, is that there's no dissemination of whether someone's an accredited investor or a qualified investor in crowdfunding, or mom and pop with their life savings, and that's where the SEC is getting nervous about people who are not accredited participating in that crowdfunding, and they're clamping down now on guys like me who by no means have anything to do with the investment decisions of any fund, or we do not participate in any type of transaction-based compensation, such as the broker-dealers, but yet it's almost as if the SEC now is becoming the traffic cop on the side of the freeway, pointing the gun at everyone they can to try to increase the amount of revenues for that agency by just throwing a blanket over everyone and saying you're all going to get licensed.
Yeah, it's just a crazy time that we live in. You know, we've been through the Wild Wild West, back in the 90s, and then we were back in that in the mid 2000s, and now it's the SEC. They're going on. I mean, I can't blame them because they're trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, and I think that they're gonna have to figure it out, because they just banned Phil Falcone from from trading for 5 years, and he got a big, and I don't even know what he got hit with fine-wise.
Well, there was I guess what created some nervousness in me was there was a capital raiser in Chicago whose buddy was the CEO of a real estate private equity firm, and he helped him raise over $300 million for his real estate private equity fund. This was in March of this year, matter of fact, and the SEC came in, and I guess this guy, this capital raiser, did a few things wrong that would make him under the regs of a broker-dealer. He told pension funds, endowment funds, and foundations to increase their allocation to private equity from the standard 20% to 30% and beyond, because he believed so much in this real estate fund. He went on and did seminars on this real estate fund, and so all the actions that he took were that of a broker-dealer, and they unwound his $300 million in capital he raised, fined him, banned him for life from the securities industry from ever doing anything like that again, they basically now are saying that everyone who's even though, and this is what upsets me, is that even though I'm not, there's no risk to the qualified investor, to the foundation, the pension fund, the endowment fund. These guys have CFAs that are amply qualified to disseminate what the risk is in any unregistered security, and by no means are we going to be able to, as capital raisers, fool any of these qualified investors into investing in these funds. So there's really no need to regulate and make us become registered with a broker-dealer, but they think that we should be, and therefore we have to run all of our capital raises now through a broker-dealer, pay the broker-dealer 10%, and of course the broker-dealer is in fact taking part of that money and paying off the SEC and FINRA.
Yeah, that's really interesting. This reminds me of when you had people with Series 7 registered, and they were on the street, the Joel Site advisors that were not registered, and they went through that whole process of registering them, that you had to be Series 7, 63, and everything, and be attached to a BD. And that's something that they're doing to you now. But in reality, the private equity funds that are out there, they need capital raisers. They need people that are going to be able to raise this capital, because if you're not raising the capital, they're not going to get the money that they need to even overcapitalize what they have, because they can always open another fund. But also the companies that they invest in, the startup companies, these opportunities that arise, they wind up suffering as well. So the SEC
is going 180 degrees away from Obama's Jobs Act, which was passed to increase capital raising and stimulate the economy and make the capital raising process easier for private equity. and hedge funds. And the SEC almost appears to be saying to the administration, you know what, we don't care what you guys say. We're going to do it our way, and we're going to generate as much revenue as we can by just requiring everyone, even though we initially made people become registered with a broker-dealer to protect mom and pop's life savings from scandalous brokers who would try to trick them into investing into unsuitable investments. And, we had to try to protect the public. And really, I don't see any reason to make someone who's dealing with institutions registered with FINRA. There's no protection needed for a qualified investor.
Because look, you have an accredited investor. They come to you. Let's say you introduce them to a fund. You're introducing them to a fund. They go and they speak to the fund manager. At that point, you're kind of out of the equation. There's nothing for you to do other than make the introduction and step away.
Right.
And you're not touching their money. You're not touching their money. You're not giving them advice. You're presenting the opportunity. Say, here it is. This is what you have. These are the 3 private equity funds that are available that are looking for funding. If you're interested, we'll put you in touch with X, Y, Z, and you step away.
Right. And years ago, there used to be a rule with the SEC that was called Rule 3A4-1, which was as a finder, and if you were not involved in any of the securities transactions and you did not give advice on the investments in the fund and you did not receive transaction-based compensation and you were not involved in any of the investment negotiations, you were allowed to bring qualified investors and issuers together as a finder and get paid a fee. Mm-hmm. And now they're saying, you know what, we don't believe that making an introduction is not a transaction-based compensation. To me, Lou, transaction-based is I call you up and I say I've got 100 municipal bonds paying a 5% yield. They're AAA rated. Do you want to buy them or not? You say yes. You send me a check for $100,000. That's a transaction.
I agree.
But if I'm making an introduction from private equity fund A to pension fund B, and I'm getting paid a flat fee for that introduction.
You get a referral fee. That's what it is.
That's right. It's a flat fee. Right. And they're saying that even though it's a flat fee, we still consider it a transaction.
Yeah, but how is it a transaction if you're not involved in the financial end of it?
That's a very good question, Lou. And it's it's very frustrating to me because it's almost like the bookie strong-arming the client into paying the interest rate that he charges, and either you pay it or I break your arm.
Right. Yeah, it's a very, how they're doing things, it's interesting, and I really don't know where it's going to go. I think
I tell you, Lou, I tell you where it's
going to go. As an advisor, you have a financial advisor. Okay, they have the ability to make a transaction. They can do that. They can do that on your behalf. They can do that on the behalf of their client. They can actually call a broker or they can facilitate a transaction if they're registered. They can do it at their firm. You cannot. You cannot go and say, hey, you're going to do something on their behalf because you can't.
Right. And what's so foolish to me is that if I'm merely making an introduction and I'm going ahead and stimulating private companies, the growth in private companies, through the institutional clientele that I have, and these institutions, as I said, have certified financial analysts that will diagnose and dissect the returns. on a month-to-month basis, and their decisions are based purely on the numbers. And if the numbers jive, they make an investment. If they don't, they don't. And it's not based on any emotion. It's all logic, and it's all based on numbers, unlike mom and pop, who may be swayed by greed and make an investment based on emotion. These institutions are making no investments based on any emotion. It's all does their risk management meet their criteria, and do the performance numbers meet their criteria? And if they do, they invest. If it doesn't, they don't.
That's it, because this is a far cry from, a broker calling up a potential client saying, stock's going to move today, you have to buy today. The urgency is not there per se, and there's no way you can put that pressure on them, because everything, as you said, is logic. Everything has to make sense business-wise. You have an accredited investor. They're an accredited investor for a reason. They have their CFAs. They have their people that they can actually go to and say, hey, look at this fund for me. Let me know what you think.
That's right. Lou, when I started in this business in 1987, I remember the boiler room tactics of taking
that was the Wild Wild West right there.
Yeah, taking the stapler, like the ticker tape. The stock's going out of control, Lou. You got to buy it, Lou.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You go, you say you're a stone throw away from Wall Street. Meanwhile, you're way in Michigan, let's say. You can't do that anymore. All that stuff and all the painting of the picture and everything, you can't. That pressing that greed button doesn't work, because people want to see, especially you're talking about accredited investors. They want to see the numbers. How does this make sense? You're not pushing a private placement of a private company. You're introducing, a private equity fund that is looking to raise capital. It's a private placement, but still, it's just different, because it's based on them speaking to the fund manager, and it's based on it making sense.
What's going to be next, Lou, is they're going to attack that crowdfunding that you were talking about, and they're going to put very stringent rules and regs on crowdfunding, and I'm not certain what those parameters are going to be yet, but I've talked to securities lawyers who deal with private equity who said it's coming.
Yeah, well, look, I remember when the Wall Street Journal they did an article on it. They interviewed me for the article on crowdfunding, and basically, I thought it was an interesting idea. I thought it was good if it was used the right way. The problem is, as I said, and I said this back when I spoke to the Wall Street Journal, this is why they didn't print what I said. I said, if this is utilized for anything other than raising capital for small companies, you're going to have a problem. And that's what it's being used for. You have people raising money for projects and things like that, which is what you want it for. But people raising money for, I want to go buy a dog, help me raise the money. Really? But they're doing it because they're allowed to. And then, the way they work it, and you have, these crowdfunding sites like Indiegogo and a few other ones, the way they work it, I think that there's a time limit or something, or an amount limit, or a time and amount limit, but again, these things are going to come under scrutiny, and I think it's going to be just a matter of time, because if the SEC can regulate this, what does that mean? That means, I got to play a song for this, because it's a reality, because this is all that I think about.
Make me see crank, the money goes into my piggy bank.
That's what happens. It has to do with the money. The money goes right in there, because now they can charge, and you have a fee.
Right.
So if they regulate that, now how does the crowdfunding work? Only a registered broker can actually go and do it.
Right.
Only an accredited investor can actually do it. So now you just killed the reason why people go with the crowdfunding, because now your sister or your brother or your cousin cannot go and use the crowdfunding to actually become like with I was talking about Urban Nature Man. They can't go and invest and become an executive producer, because now they have to register that. So how it becomes problematic, I think.
Well, already this year also, the other issue that's arising is that emerging managers are finding themselves with a lot more difficulty in raising capital because these registered investment advisory firms, the pensions, endowments, foundations, and family offices that I deal with are becoming a lot more selective in the funds they do invest in, and instead of looking at a plethora of funds, they're narrowing down their choices, and when a new emerging manager comes by with a fund that looks interesting, a lot of these guys are saying, you know what, we're going to pass. Nope. And these emerging managers are finding themselves with a great deal more difficulty. However, this year, though, U.S. private equity funds did raise so far this year, $86 billion for 235 funds, which is a 27% increase. And European funds also raised so far $37 billion in 79 funds for a 39% increase. And of course, venture capital funds are also increased by $59 billion with 108 funds, which is a 30% increase. So we are seeing the trend increase, but it's much more selective.
Yeah, well, I would think it'd be selective at this point because, again, I spoke about Phil Falcone, okay, and what happened to him just recently. When they went after Steve Cohen at SAC, okay, that spooked a lot of people too because they didn't go back a year or two or three or four or five or six. They went back a long way. A long way to so they can get it. I mean, because the way it looks like to me is that they're looking to take every dime this guy has.
Yeah, it seems contrary to me to the Obama administration trying to stimulate the economy with making it easier to raise capital. And it seems that they've become increasing in their regulatory actions, thus making it, as a result, more difficult for the economy to grow in the private investment world. And then, of course, you've got the debt ceiling looming that is coming up that could create the shutdown, making people nervous. And you've got Egypt not cooperating, making the oil futures skyrocket. So there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things going on, and again, going back to the private equity and to the Obama administration, trying to stimulate growth. The reality is, if you have a private equity fund that is investing in U.S.-based companies to grow, how in your right mind, why would you want to hold back from them getting funded? Because you stimulate the economy. You're stimulating U.S. growth, okay? Especially if it's a manufacturing, even internet, whatever it may be, technology, things of that nature, we have to get back in the groove. And you have a lot of small companies out there, like in the tech industry, you have a lot of companies that are coming out that are getting funded in the tens of millions of dollars. Okay,
right. And not to mention that, and I hate to throw this curveball into the equation, but when you've got now in October Obamacare that's going to come into effect, and many companies are holding off from hiring, and if they do hire, they're only hiring part-timers. That also throws a monkey wrench into the equation as far as the private equity funds growing. And what I think is going to be the end result, Lou, is that the guys who are 62, 66, 68 years old, and they're the CEOs of these smaller companies that are being courted by the various private equity firms to take a golden parachute out, are in fact going to do that. They're going to take advantage of the ability to parachute out with a very nice bonus and a very nice price on their companies. And it may be 60 cents on the dollar, but I think after everything is all said and done, the 62 or 66-year-old is going to say, the hell with all this regulation and aggravation. I'm going to take that golden parachute. I'm going to let this private equity firm run it. I can still be on the board and help them and get paid some type of a salary, but eliminate all the aggravation.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably not far off from that. You have a lot of companies that have gone public. You have a lot of companies that are going public now, and they're doing it because there's money flowing. Facebook went public. Money was flying out of that, going elsewhere. People have money moving from Google and all this tech. You have a lot of money flowing around. So the companies that go private, they're being bought out. So now that's more money coming back. You have a lot of private equity funds that only invest in private companies. So when those companies go public, that money's coming out. It has to go somewhere else. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. But with the heavy regulation, it becomes really, really interesting on how things may work. And, again, some industries are more regulated than others, and for good reason. But when you, like with what you're doing, I think it's very interesting that they are clamping down on the private equity firms, because every day on the news you see something going on. Okay, today was tough phone. Well, what's tomorrow?
I do see deal flow increasing, and that's why I made the statement that I just made, because if deal flow for private equity firms is increasing and they're seeing a lot more of these companies to be able to buy, there's got to be that aspect of the CEOs throwing in the towel. However, if that is the case, though, on the other hand, you're right, because you're not seeing the ability for these private equity firms to get the financing to buy out these companies, because it is becoming more difficult or more expensive for them to do it. So they're being more picky and choosy about the companies that they are putting in their pipeline, and it is holding back what I think could be exceptional growth in the United States in the private sector because of this regulation.
Well, I think that it's going to be an interesting, definitely an interesting situation. Again, the SEC, they have the power to regulate whatever they want to regulate, and in regards to the public markets. But again, and I go back to what I said earlier. If you have private equity, then they're investing in U.S.-based companies, and they're sparking growth. They're creating jobs. This is what the Obama administration is about right now, creating jobs. If they're investing in these companies, allowing them to grow, instead of having 5 employees, they can have 50. Instead of having 50 employees, they can have 500. If you're giving them that opportunity to grow, more people are going to have jobs, and you'll have less people on welfare, and less people, bleeding the system. So
right, like that surfer guy in California that was featured on the news, who thought it's purely okay to just surf and collect food stamps.
Yeah, and you have a lot of people like that. That's the funny thing. You have a lot of people like that it's more cost effective for them to stay home, collect welfare, because they'll make more money doing that. And that's why in Seattle, what they're looking to do, they're looking to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And that's going to be interesting.
That's ludicrous. And now they said over 16%, 50 million people are on food stamps, and it's the highest level that we've ever seen with that entitlement program.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this much: if they pass this deal that Seattle's going to have a mandatory $15 minimum wage, you're going to see that city crumble, because you can't have someone that's just sweeping the floors and you're giving them, what are you going to give someone that's cooking the food? What are you going to give someone that's serving? How does that work? I mean, is someone going to make $30 an hour?
This is, Lou, the catalyst that was the demise of Detroit. I spoke with the president of Ford Real Estate, and they closed the Ford Wixom plant that used to produce the Lincoln Continentals here in Michigan. And I asked him, why not sell that land? It was a huge parcel of land. Why not sell it to Mazda or Toyota? And his response was, we could have given it away for free with all the equipment inside for free. And he said no one would take it because the unions were choking Detroit. And it was far more cost effective for us to build a new plant in South Korea.
Yep, and then they're actually cutting back over there as well because that's not a big market for them. So they're looking to do something somewhere else. This is what I'm saying, that they got to stimulate business in the U.S. You have car manufacturers, GM, Ford, so on and so forth. They're here. You have Apple manufacturing overseas. Half their revenue stream is overseas because they can't repatriate it because they're going to get taxed up to kazoo, double taxed.
Right.
Okay, so how does that help the economy? You know, there's so many different problems that are out there, and you know, every week on the show we're tackling you know, these topics. You know, and it's like, I think, you know, next week I think we're going to have a full blown out show based on just what's happening in Detroit, because I've seen the pictures. I've seen it. I've seen the video. I see how it is over there, and the city, what, they declared bankruptcy? Really?
Right. And Chicago's next, they said, unless Chicago gets concessions from the unions on their pension funds, they're $400 million away. They're in debt, and they're going to file bankruptcy. And they said New York is right after Chicago.
Well, you know, New York won't ever come to that point because you have too many powerful people here, and especially with Bloomberg in office. You know, if they get you know, a Democrat or someone that's not a businessman, you need a businessman in big cities to be the mayor. You need a businessman. I'm sorry. In New York, you need a businessman. They got it. Chicago, you need a businessman. Detroit needs a businessman to go in and restructure everything. They don't have businessmen. They have politicians. And that's where you have a problem. And these unions are a problem as well.
Lou, we didn't have a businessman as a mayor since 1986. We had thugs that were crooks who stole from the city, who thought of their own pocketbooks, nothing more, and subsequently you can only steal for so long, and after a point, there's nothing left to steal.
That's good, and that's where they're at right now. There's nothing left to steal, and that's the reality of it. You know, but we have to definitely, you know, we don't have too much time left on the show, but next week we're going to touch on all this stuff, talk about the unions, talk about what's going on, and I'm sure more things are going to develop this week in the world of private equity, because, I mean, every day there's something new going on out there. Now, I just want to let our listeners know that John, he's going to start putting together, he's going to have a blog, well, actually all his blogs that we're going to actually put together, and we're going to create a digital magazine that, you know, listeners can actually go and download on megahoot.com. You know, that's something that's going to be in development in the next week. So you want to, you know, go on there and you can actually download it for free and read it online for free and do all that stuff. So we're going to really make that sharp and, you know, to help educate our listeners a little further. Now, John, why don't you, you know, do it in the show and just give people your website and everything, and close it out.
Okay, good. Thanks, Lou. And what I hope to be able to do for the listeners, of course, is be able to touch on with regards to that different topics, such as private equities, such as the economy, such as fundraising. I've got articles to post about the bond market, about the equity markets, the U.S. economy, and so forth, to keep everyone updated. And if they go to www.rvshow.com, REO Capital LLC. They'll be able to get a flavor for what's going to be in store for your digital magazine, and I try to keep it current and topics that are relevant to today, so that you're right, they can get educated.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do. We want to keep everyone educated and keep everybody just flowing forward with information.
And that's the important thing. You're right. Is to try to sort through the confusion and post the information that is reality and that can sort through and really define the trends.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll be back. We're gonna have that done this week, and we'll be back with our listeners next week, next Monday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk more about the world of finance and what's going on, and how the money's moving on a global scale. We have so many things to go over, and we just don't have enough time and within an hour to do it. But John, thank you again, and again, we're back in action, and just look out for the digital magazine. I think the digital magazine just may be called for your segment, John, may be called REO Capital. Who knows? But we'll work on that. We'll get that done.
I look forward to it, and look forward to getting the information to you.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Okay, and to our listeners, we'll be back with you next week, and thank you again.
You're listening to UCW Radio, in your face.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Louis, for lack of a better word, is good.
You know what I mean?
Money to be made in a place like this.
Money never sleeps, pal.
You're crazy. Don't run when you lose. Don't whine when it hurts.
You know what it takes to sell real estate?
It takes brass balls.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.